Okay, here we are, back at my shop. This is a Jazzy Elite HD, very common model, dynamic shark joystick. See, it's just a little bit banged up. We are going to be doing both motors on this today, and the reason for that, up here we can see a little wrench flashing at the bottom of your joystick. Okay, 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, pause. And it keeps doing that over and over. Now, this little light here is basically the built-in diagnostics for the chair. It will tell you what's wrong with it in a nutshell. Now, it's up to the technician or a competent person to figure out if that is the only problem. But I can tell you right now it is not, because if I cross the motor leads, I get error codes for both motors. I do believe this got wet at one point, or it had some sort of shock damage from being transported and ratcheted down too tight, whatever the case may be. We've got two bad motors. So over here, subsonic, very common, power chair motors. Boom. Boom. Just completely opposite. One goes on the left, one goes on the right. This is the tab where we will connect the neutral switch to. That allows the motors to disengage and engage. And I don't know if you can see those. See how good the camera zoom is on here. Down there are the motors. Right there. Right there. So we first got to take this thing apart. First thing you got to do is take the seat off. This has actually got a Velcroed on cushion. Just get rid of that for now. Probably replace the Velcro on here just because it looks like it's seen its better days. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, I got stickiness all over my hands, wonderful. Okay, so we got to detach this seat. First thing I want to do actually is I want to turn this off. I'm going to follow this cable to the back of the chair. You should come here. You saw earlier when I did this to the other chair. You follow that cable and you can see this one comes out the front. So then that will actually come out right here. Take that lead, disconnect it. You got to pull up on that plastic to release it, and that will allow that bus cable to come out of there. Now, what you need to do, come back to the back, grab that wire, pull it out of there, just drape it across the seat, because what we're going to do is we're going to take the seat completely off and just have the base of the chair. So give me 2 seconds. First of all, this tab right here is your release. You got to flip this tab up, out of the way, and pinch clip. We'll allow that seat to release off the front bar right there. Now, the only thing holding this chair is little C channels around this back bar. It's going to be kind of hard to show you this and lift the seat off of here. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, got the seat off. So really, guys, all this is just two posts straight down on top of the chair. These two little blocks here rest inside of this little C channel, and those clamps allow it to not slide back and forth left and right. And then up here, this is where it clips into the front bar and pinches closed, and then you lock it. There you go. So what we need to do is we need to expose the motors. First thing we're going to need to do is take the back battery door off. Spin those. You get the idea. Back battery door exposed. Now this is how you access your batteries, change wiring harnesses, all that good stuff. You can take the shroud completely off of there. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. First of all, we got to take these batteries out of here. So we got to disconnect this cable. All you got to do is pull on it. It's a quick release. So you might have this little Velcro strap, which I have already undone, across the top, feeding through here. Or it just depends on where they have it fed. But pull out each individual battery. There should be 2 of them, 1 connector on each side. So and then you pull them out. Okay, there you go. Completely empty battery terminal, or battery box, I should say. Here's your 22 NF gel sealed lead batteries. Okay, give you a little bit. It's an MK. These look like they were purchased in 2018 here, so these are still relatively new. This is your wiring harness. Okay, and this just connects black to red, and then it plugs in to that port or that port. Pretty easy. Next thing you gotta do, which I like to do, I like to take the batteries out of that just to lighten up the chair. And we're gonna see what else we can get into here. Just back in 2 seconds. Okay, so here I have flipped the chair on its side now. If you still had the batteries in there, those probably weigh about 55 pounds a piece, so you're really about taking out dang near 100 pounds on the chair. I don't know if they're exactly at 55 pounds, but they feel pretty heavy. I guess I could look up the exact weight later on if need be, but lighten up the load of the chair, makes it a little bit more steady. Now what we got to do is we have to take the drive wheel off, and we'll be right back. Okay, so in order to take that wheel off, just you're going to need one of 2. Okay, this is an 11/16, and I think this has been taken off a few times because it's a little bit loose, but it will work. It's an 11/16, it's just a tiny bit loose, and number 17 is also just a tiny bit loose, so you can either use one of the 2 of those. I'm not exactly sure what it is when it first comes from the manufacturer, but I'm going to use this 11/16 because I have it a little bit longer on here. I've got an adapter for my socket, so stick that down on top. Make sure you're going the right way. Spin it off. Now, this is the tricky part, okay? Not all chairs like to come off. Or chair wheels, I should say. They have a very high getting stuck rate, so most of these wheels won't just lift off of here like this one does, but I have done work to this before. So I had put anti-seize, which is right here. You can hardly see that, but let's open it up so you can kind of check inside. It's just like this grease, basically. Last time I worked on this, I put that in there, so it left it off there real easy. But, if you can notice, this is probably why we have motor issues. Hair is the #1 cause, I believe, in my personal, professional opinion. Things go out. You can see either that has had stuff spilled on it prior to, or that is leaking oil from somewhere. It does not surprise me that this is giving error codes on the joystick. So, it's time. Now, to make it easier on ourselves, we could take this plastic off of here, but I know that it can be done by not, and all we have to do is these 6 motor head bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that will allow us to pop that motor down. So that's what we're going to try. We'll see if it works. Okay, so I have gloved up so I can remove any nasties from the chair that I need to. Now the one thing that I forgot to tell you is before we do this, we need to expose the control module, which is basically the computer of the chair. And that is going to be right underneath this black door right here. There's going to be 2 screws, Phillips head I believe they are, right here underneath my fingers. You can kind of make them out. Left and right. And take those 2 out of there. That will pop that black shroud and expose where your motors connect to the module. Alright, here's your 2 little teeny tiny Phillips screws. Take this, pull out on that. There's your module. Each one of these 2 pins right there and there. Those are your motor leads. Best piece of advice I can say, if you're not comfortable taking that out of there, is just a screw there and a screw there. But you have to pay attention to where you unplug things, because they have to go exactly back where they go, or your chair ain't going to work. Or it'll drive backwards. Like if you push right on the joystick, the chair will turn left. So that means you have it wired backwards. That's for a different video, I guess. If you should choose to take the entire shroud off to give yourself more room, here and there, and one on each side. So there's 4. And there's 3 on each side actually. So there's one tucked down on the front well, one right there, and one back there. On each side, that will take that entire shelf off of there and just expose your frame. That should be a lot easier to do it that way. But to do that, you have to take those off of there, which you gotta take those big monster bolts out and then slide that track completely up. That changes the seat height. So I don't want to do that, because I know I can do this without taking the shroud off. So flip the chair back over. Gotta make sure it doesn't fall on you. Easier said than done sometimes. I didn't wear my steel toes today. Okay. Kind of flipping this thing around on you guys a lot, I'm sorry. Alright. So to determine your left and right, if you don't know how to just look at the motor and tell which side it goes on, the best piece of advice is grab a motor, hold it up next to it. If they're backwards or upside down or inset, you got the wrong one. Put it back on the table, grab you the other one. Looks like a match to me, minus the hairy nasties. Okay, so now I believe that is the next project right there. Stay tuned. Okay, so after a little bit closer inspection, I realized you could take that shroud off without exposing those posts. And instead of taking out the back 2 ones, you leave those in and just take out that one. And where'd she go? Down there. That one on the side frame. So now tip this thing back up. Make it a little bit easier on me now. Now I can expose all of those. That looks like where'd she go? There she is. She fell on the floor. This is a Stanley socket drive. Let's see what size she is. I think it's a 5 millimeter. So I make sure that fits pretty good. So I'm going to attach that to the end of my socket. I actually had a patient of mine get me this set for free. Thanks, dude. Much appreciated. Help me out. So I'm going to attach this thing to my socket. Gotta have it going the right way, dummy. Alright, so in a lot of these chairs, there's going to be gunk built up in the top of these screws. Shouldn't take much to get them off of here. But the point of saying that is up here, you could have a lot of crap stuffed in there. And if you don't clean that out before you go twisting on it with either your regular Allen wrench or your socket drive, there's a high probability that you could strip it out, just because your Allen doesn't have enough room to get down in the hole and expose, or to have enough to bite to, so that it doesn't spin out of there and cause stripping. Because the last thing that we like in this line is stripped nuts and bolts. They suck. So at whatever cost to not have to deal with that, do that. But I'm going to continue taking these off of here. These back ones could be a little bit more problematic. It's going to be a little bit harder to get my hand in there holding a camera, so I'll be right back. Okay, so the next one's going to be a little difficult to get to, so I put an extender bar on here. That is down inside between these two little pieces of metal. It's really hard to get to without that stabilizer bar, but with it, perfectly fine. Now, just for future references, I have left the two back corners and one front side up just for stability. This one is loose. This one is loose. That one is not. Now the reason I did that was because if you don't leave at least one tight or semi-tight, the rest of them will be a pain to get out of there. They kind of bind up. So if you leave a couple corner ones that are easy access a little bit tight, it will hold the motor in place enough where you can just finger spin the rest of them out of there. So you can notice this one's a little bit smaller size one than the rest, and I'll show you that once we get the motor off. Okay, we got the motor released. Next, yummy. The next problem that you're going to run into is this. You need to get that off of there because we need to reuse this lever. So to do that, there's going to be on the side somewhere. There we go. Rotate my finger out of the way. The little Allen. I believe that. We'll have to double check the size, but that is a number 3. Give me 2 seconds to track that down. Let's see what this is. 3. Let's see if my guesstimation was correct. From tipping and crushing my feet. Okay, so we're loosening that up. Okay. Got it free, got the switch off. Now I gotta sniff this wire tie to release the motor here, so try to do this without killing my feet. There we go. Okay. Now we can follow that wire back to the module and pull the pin corresponding with what we're releasing. So looks like that module. It's hard to do backwards. Right here. Take that out. Okay. Released from the module. Now all that's left to do is pull it out of there.